Into a more healthy, hierarchical view?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I feel it's sort of a calling because I'm learning so much about, developmental logic and Habermas and these great ideas that, Wilber is portraying. And then I go into my field and just kind of suggest them, and then there's this fierce antagonism, I guess you could say. People are very resistant to these ideas. I don't know if that's the same in Europe. I've heard Habermas is more welcome in Europe. I mean, he's European, but at least in American academia, it's all relativism, and it can be harmful. And I feel like since I know this developmental logic, why not apply it? Unfortunately, I won't have much support, but I pretty much decided.
We're here for you, man.
But when you say academia, it seems like this postmodern value structure seems to have the dominant piece of the pie. It's just dominating academia, this relativistic worldview. And is that a problem? Where is it healthy and where is it unhealthy?
Yeah, well, what do you see as the positive side of relativism, Jared? Do you think there's anything positive there?
Well, I think it's done a great job at sort of, I guess, illuminating sort of oppressive ideologies that have existed in the past, kind of dispelling old myths that were, not correct and may have hurt our culture. And for instance, I know some of my professors are working on topics such as hegemony and U.S. imperialism, and sort of deconstructing the ideals that we think are good but are actually hurting people. So I think that's very important. And in the past 30, 40, 50 years, it's been great because it's been, like the knife cutting out hierarchies and oppression, bad hierarchies, that is. So I think that's the positive aspect to it. But I feel like it's done not that it's done, it's finished its job, but it's reached a point where we need something more, and it's kind of holding everything back.
I think you're right. And another aspect where I think it has been beneficial, though, is in ecological movement.
Oh, definitely.
There seems to be an awareness of more the context within which human civilization exists on the planet, and the relationships that it sort of requires that we be in with the rest of the community of life. Because the green meme, to use the spiral dynamics terms, it seems very much aware of the connections between people and between people and nature. And so much so that it seems to flatten out everything, so that, as Wilber says, it's just
you start to see things like civil rights movements and women's rights and gay rights movements. This is all, according to these theories, result of this mimetic upbringing, this green emergence in the culture.
Right. We talked a little bit about Teilhard de Chardin in the last video. Maybe we could go into that a little bit. For those who don't know, and I think he's not as well read as I think he deserves to be.
Unfortunately.
But he was a Jesuit paleontologist. So he's there, really bringing these two worlds together, science and spirituality, and I think struggled his whole life to do so. He was rejected by the church and by his colleagues in academia and in the biological community. But I think, at least from my point of view, and I think you'd agree, that he's synthesized pretty well a spiritual view of evolution with a cosmic and biological view of evolution.
Definitely. He had this really interesting way of just sort of, he didn't even need to really lie down the groundwork. He kind of just built this cosmic story of religion and science, of the physical world and God. And it was very interesting how he related God to the omega point, the concept of the omega point. Oh, yeah. I always thought of it as something like a singularity, in which the whole of the cosmos is this evolving to more and more complex forms, more transcendent forms, to the point where he thought, it reached the omega point, the source, the critical, super divine consciousness.
Yeah.
So I thought it's an interesting way see the universe. It was very, very illuminating, I guess you could say.
Definitely an organic view, right?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Omega point.
I think the way Teilhard describes how the noosphere would come together in order to allow the omega point to emerge is a lot like the way neurons sort of start organizing themselves in order to produce
this autopoietic kind of coming together.
And then there's this
like a synergy, and then
something new.
Something
I guess
it wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I think what we're doing right now, interviewing one another and having this conversation to post on the internet, and just the internet generally, I think is a great example of exactly what Teilhard was talking about.
He would probably call this like the skeleton or the exoskeleton of another superbrain or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Or
because
all these wires. This is the physical, the outside aspect of the noosphere. The interior of it being, the consciousness.
Right here.
I like when you say that, and it has this digital kind of software realm to it. And when you look at cities, and like if you go take an aerial view, you see all these little things. It's like almost like little blood cells moving around. They have their little white blood cells.
Unfortunately, cities almost look like motherboards from the sky.
More. Maybe eventually one day they'll be more organic, like what we're talking about. But I always like that kind of metaphor. Something seemed organic deep down, even though, like you said, it's more blocky right now. It seems like this deep cosmic body, this one kind of organizing thing, taking care of itself. And even though there's little problems here and there, it sends the right kind of things to deal with that problem when it can. It tries to sustain itself as a whole. So yeah, that's the physical kind of portion of that. And like when you talk about this kind of digital, this internet, it seems to be an equivalent or metaphorical equivalent to the noosphere. How there's a mind that we have these.
Yeah, it's not even metaphorical. I think this is really.
Oh, okay.
The internet.
You're gonna take that.
Is the noosphere manifesting itself. I think it's a fact. It's not just a metaphor.
Okay.
And
I
the
can
whole
see
philosophy behind that. It's sort of like the universe just keeps organizing in higher and higher orders and more complexity. And he said, I think he called it the process of interiorization. And with that physical structure comes deeper consciousness or deeper I-ness. And basically, the internet is basically going to be a very big I-ness, which won't diffuse humans. Will contribute to it. Like there needs to be people and individuals to create this synergy, this just like culture, at just a higher level.
Right.
I guess you could say.
Cyberculture.
Cyberculture, yeah. That's one of my favorite aspects of Teilhard's thought is that the law of complexity consciousness, the more a material body becomes organized and sort of folds in on itself,
that's right,
the more conscious it becomes, the deeper its interiority. It seems like it's as a law, so far as scientific laws go, it seems to a lot. I mean, it's this question as to what exactly complexity means, but generally speaking, it seems like a pretty accurate, very phenomenological, experience-based law, doesn't it?
And then that's probably one of the reasons why Teilhard stands out so much, because he's kind of just creating a phenomenology of the world and not really, hypothesizing like, what if this really means that? He's really just saying, look at the way everything is and look at where we're going. And we can see these bigger patterns at this point in history. And I thought that was actually very similar to what Wilbur was trying to do too.
Right.
In Wilbur's books, it's what he says in at the beginning of some of his books. It's just like, look, we have all the cultures on the table. We have all of these theories. And for the first time in history, we can just look at all of them and try to find underlying patterns. And I think that's what Teilhard is doing. That's what we're trying to do.
Yep.
And hopefully that's what's going to help drive the next century. As we mentioned before, a more hopeful future.
I mean, I want to ask you a little bit more about your own plans for the future. Do you want to, I guess you're going to go to graduate school after you graduate? Any idea where?
Maybe the California Institute of Integral Studies.
Yeah, think about it?
Right on.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
I'm thinking that maybe even, I don't know, maybe some schools around here. Depends on if I can move out there or not.
Yeah.
I can always get another degree later, but I definitely intend on sticking to maybe sociology, social sciences, studying consciousness, philosophy. I know the California school has
anthropology.
That. the philosophy, cosmology.
They have that program. They have the philosophy, cosmology, and consciousness, and also an anthropology department, which you might.
That might be good too. Yeah.
Yep.
Anthropology is very related to sociology.
Right.
I mean, I honestly think that's another thing that needs to be synthesized. Anthropology, sociology, political science, all of that can really collaborate.
I definitely appreciate you sharing your thoughts and ideas with us, Jared, for the second time.
Yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
I'll catch you guys later.
All right, thanks, Jared.
Thanks,
Take it
buddy.
easy.
See you.
Bye.